Hello and welcome to the No Huddle Podcast. We're coming back after an amazing Week 16. Before we delve into anything specific, let's just be grateful for the fact of how amazing this season has been. We had the best game of the year on Thursday, followed by, honestly, a close runner-up on Saturday, great games on Sunday, and then, of course, we got to watch a 45-year-old out of retirement Phillip Rivers play an amazing game of football against my Niners on Monday night. It was an amazing time. It's such an amazing time to be a football fan. No one knows what the hell is going on in the NFL. Frankly, the only time I can ever remember something like this. And I think at the end of this, when we get to February, we're going to be talking about how this is one of the best seasons of all time. So let's hope it keeps going that way, because right now it really does look like it. And now, let's get started. Of course, Monday Night Football. The Niners and the Colts. The Niners win this one 48-27. Final score was an absolute blowout. And let's just start with man of the hour, Brock Purdy. My goodness, he is just amazing. I'm going to just when talking about Brock Purdy or any quarterback, I think more than anything this year, I learned that this might sound kind of obvious, but it's two people can look at the same play and come away with it with just vastly different takeaways. And it's just because of how their bias affects them. So I'm going to try, when I talk about Brock today, I'm going to give some stuff that cannot be influenced by bias at all. So, and before we get started that, there's some great advanced analytics. There are some people who really don't like advanced analytics when it comes to football. To them, I would say there was a lot of the same skepticism in basketball like 5 years ago. Nikola Jokic was like the, true shooting guy. He was he's just advanced stats guy, yada, yada. But when the games mattered, there was a whole bunch of stuff and insults hurled at Nikola Jokic because of how good he was on advanced stats and that his team hadn't won a championship, right? But now we can say with hindsight, Jokic is one of the best basketball players in the league and probably the best. And you know what? Advanced analytics tipped us off to that a long time ago. And we, in hindsight, are now like, oh, well, obviously Jokic is amazing. He does this, yada, yada, yada. But frankly, when that stuff was happening a few years ago, there was a lot more controversy of it, a lot more debate. So to anyone who sees these numbers and just brushes them off, I challenge you to think about the Jokic stuff. Hell, if you're a baseball guy, the most important stat now is WAR, which is another advanced analytics. So, hey, I understand if these stats give you some pause, but I'll keep going with them. So let's start with, in the first half, he had an EPA of 0.76, which means that every time he threw the ball, the Niners were expected to score nearly a full point, which is absurd. And frankly, I don't think I've seen a number that high. It's just a testament to how efficient he's playing the game, how well the Niners offense is moving, and stuff like that. And if that doesn't sway you, let's go with some simple stuff. Since he came back in that Arizona Cardinals game, Brock Purdy's thrown for over 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks, with 3 of them against Carolina. So if you want to wash that one out, you exclude the Carolina game, 12 touchdowns to a pick. If you want to include it, fair. That's completely fair. And a nearly 70% completion rate, which is up there with Drake Maye in terms of the best completion rate in the league, or completion percentage. If you want to say these teams aren't the best, that he's played against, Indy has had its problems since their injuries. If you want to look at if you discredit Carolina, if you're not a big believer in Carolina, you look at some of the teams he's beaten, you can be like, well, yada. This isn't a fair sample size. Okay, let's expand it to his career. For his career, since 2022, he has the highest EPA, again, expected points, of any quarterback in football, which includes his rookie year of 2022, where he came in as the third-string quarterback, and in 2024, when he had a down year. What this guy does on the football field is insane, and I think it's time for us to acknowledge that. I'm tired of it's Shanahan. I'm tired of it's the weapons. I'm tired of so many different reasons I have heard when it comes to his success. And at some point, this is going to be really stupid. There's a saying known as Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the best explanation. And while that's not true all the time, of course there's nuance. Of course we know there's a lot of nuance in football. At some point, he's just been playing so good for a really, really long time to where we can say, you know what? Maybe he's just a good quarterback. Maybe he's just one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And I know that's going to piss off people because for some reason, Brock Purdy's the most divisive quarterback in the league, maybe outside of Bo Nix. I don't get what has happened to change that. I frankly think that it is his draft position and a few talking heads who I'm really going to try and not name names because I don't want to create any negative attention towards anybody. But you know what? a few names who have really, really discredited him and pushed public opinion one way and have looked for any excuse to say he is not an amazing quarterback, which he absolutely is. I would go so far as to say that he is the second best quarterback in the NFC playoff field this year. So I'd only take Matthew Stafford. And that's nothing to do with, like, I think Stafford necessarily better than Brock. And, like, it's just more of how well Stafford has played this year. He doesn't turn the ball over anymore, which used to be the biggest problem with Matthew Stafford. And he makes, like, frankly, absurd throws and he makes them seem regular. Like, Stafford has just been amazing this year. He's going to win the MVP. So that's the only quarterback I would take over Brock right now, as far as the NFC goes. For the people who are still skeptical, right? And who, let's say they aren't the biggest fans of film, because that's why I became a Brock Purdy fan. It's not just because he's the quarterback on my team. Frankly, I have hated quarterbacks on my team before. But when it comes to Brock, when you watch him on tape, he's absurd. I'll point out like a specific one. If you look at the play that he had against the Colts in I want to say the third touchdown pass he had to Brock, he's rolling out to the right. Like, the Colts perfectly schemed up that play. We were trying to hit a hitter on the right. We were trying to call this play towards the flat on the right side, but give credit to the Colts. They completely shut it down. And Brock's rolling, looking for something to come open. And he sees these two defenders, and he sees, like, okay, all I have to do is just wait for these guys to bite on something. So he just patiently waits, rolls out, and then as soon as they take a few steps in, he instantly rips it to the back of the end zone, to a spot where really only Kittle can go up and grab that. It is an amazing, amazing throw. And it frankly just makes it seem so regular. So much so, like, they're watching on the broadcast, like, oh, that's a dangerous throw. I don't know about that one, Brock. But when you watch Brock, it's like, yeah, that's a tight window throw. He loves those. That is what he is best at. So I love watching Brock so much. And frankly, when he's at the top of his game, when he's not throwing some dumb interceptions, which, in fairness to everybody else, yes, he does do that sometimes. He's just so much fun. I love watching Brock Purdy. As far as the skeptics go, and which they will always exist for any quarterback, because he was the last pick of the draft, because he's 6 foot tall instead of 6'5", and instead of having 245 pounds, he's 215, yada, yada, whatever. I just don't know what you want anymore. Like, genuinely, to anyone who watches the games, I don't know what you need to see to be like, okay, that is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Genuinely. The argument was before, he can't come back from behind, this and that. I'm looking for the word that means, like, front runner. Of course, there it is. But then he led a 24-7 comeback against the Detroit Lions in the AFC Championship game. Okay. Oh, well, he hasn't done it against the best teams. Well, in Kansas City with Steve Spagnuolo, prime Chris Jones, like, insane, that defense that held the Ravens to 10 points, who were amazing that year. He led 3 straight drives to take the lead. And if it weren't for 4 insane Patrick Mahomes drives, likely would have been a Super Bowl champion. It's, at some point, I just don't know what more you want to see. It's like, oh, it's the weapons. Okay. Debo is gone. Ayuk is doing something, right? Ricky Pearsall is gone for this game. Your top 3 receivers are out. It is Juwan Jennings, who has been a receiver 4 for his entire career. It's Demarcus Robinson, who was a cast-off for the Chiefs as their receiver 6. Sky Moore is in that mix, and he's still getting it done. Still getting it done. Even with McCaffrey only having 30 receiving yards. Because frankly, they just didn't need to throw a million checkdowns to McCaffrey this game. At some point, it's just impossible to deny that he's a good player. There's stats that back it up. The eye test backs it up. The film backs it up. And the only thing that could hold you back at this point is any prior bias about his draft position. That's it. There's even one more. I have, like, Mac Jones, because I saw some stuff comparing Mac Jones' stats compared to Purdy's. And to anyone who just does a blind stat comparison in that regard, I don't know what to say. Like, if you just watch the games, Mac Jones played it differently. It was much more about quick hitters. If you watch, like, CMC had, like, 10 catches in it for 100 yards in every one of those games. Because it was all about Mac just reads the field, checks it down, and keeps the offense moving. And it led to the offense putting up consistently 20, but never, like, more than 30. And there was a lack of explosives. Like, all that stuff you got. And again, I don't want to discredit Mac. Mac was an amazing backup quarterback, and he's going to be a starter next year because I think some team is going to trade for him because of how bad this draft class is. Mac got his numbers in a way different way. Moving on, besides the Purdy point of it, because he had to be the number one story of the game, the run game for the Niners got significantly better. If you've been watching the Niners this year, it has been, frankly, a struggle to run the ball, and I blame a lot of that to the interior offensive line struggles at the beginning of the year. Number 64, Jake Brendel. Dominic Pooney was not playing well at all, and then they had this whole mess at the left guard spot. But ever since that started to stabilize, and it has looked really, you started to see some holes open up. They just need to execute. And what do you know? We finally got the execution this game. CMC goes over 100 yards rushing, and if you look at it, like the Niners have one of the best tackle duos in the league in Trent Williams and Cole McKivitz, who McKivitz has been like a long-hated player by Niners fans. But frankly, I don't understand this year. He has been so awesome this year. He's one of the best tackles in the league this year, which is just a really, really cool story and great for the Niners because they extended him at the beginning of the season. Purdy has came back to his 2024 form and is now looking like one of the better guards in the league again. Number 64, Jake Brendel, who I gave a lot of crap to. I flat out called for his benching 100 times on this podcast. But I don't know. I think he started checking Twitter. It's dumb. Is it a real thing that probably happened? No. But my running theory is that he started blocking some Niners Twitter accounts who are notorious for crapping on him. And ever since then, you know what? My biggest problems with Brendel, lack of effort. Putting in effort pretty consistently. Yeah, there's a few plays where he doesn't, but consistent effort, good blocks, like staying disciplined. It's been impressive. So I don't want to say like bullying works, but hey, bullying might have worked. So, and CMC, let's just talk about CMC for a sec here. He has over 1,000 yards rushing. He broke that mark against the Colts. He has 850 yards receiving, and that's nearly 2,000 all-purpose yards. And we still have 2 more games to go where he is 100% going to destroy that. I don't know why he's not getting more Offensive Player of the Year love. He is so freaking good. I think if the Niners get the 1 seed, we'll randomly see like an odd surge to McCaffrey, like I called for Josh Allen last week, being the MVP. But I think CMC should be getting a lot more love for OPOY. And I don't want to discredit Puka and JSN. They're having amazing years. But this shouldn't be a 2-man race. This should be a 3-man race with CMC included. He has been so freaking good. He needs a lot of the credit for when Mac Jones was in the lineup and keeping the offense stable, even as the offensive line was bad, even as, frankly, the whole team was just changing what seemed like week to week. And he was the only consistent part of that team. Moving on to the defense. There's some real concerns with this defense, 100%. Tatum Bethune, who is the Mike linebacker who stepped in for the Niners post Fred Warner getting injured, and then he had a high ankle sprain, so he came back this game. But he was frankly rough. If you look at the first 2 drives of the game, the Colts' game plan was to target Tatum Bethune, and it worked so well. They were destroying us over the middle of the field. Frankly, the whole defense was not particularly great. I want to give a lot of credit before I start shitting on the Niners defense, like a lot of people have. I want to give a ton of credit to Steichen and Rivers. Calling up, when you looked at that Seattle game, everything was like kind of slow, sluggish. It was like checkdowns. It didn't look particularly great. It looked like an offense that didn't really know what they were doing because it makes sense. A quarterback just entered 5 days ago. But you go to this game, it's Rivers is running no huddle. He's calling everything at the line, and he's going deep, which the Niners did not expect at all. And it threw him off right away and allowed for 14 points on their first 2 drives. And I want to give a ton of credit to that. But since from that point on, the Niners defense adjusted, and it started to look a lot better. You started to see a few stops come in. The Niners secondary as a whole is a real concern. I'm not the biggest fan of Renardo Green whenever he comes back from injury. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of him, yikes, could you tell that they needed him? Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, that's a safety duo that's still young and still taking a lot of reps and learning. So hopefully they get better as the year progresses, but frankly, they have had some major miscues throughout the year. And I think I would go as far as to say this Niners defense is great. It's a young unit. It is a unit that, for the most part, bends but does not break. I think it broke once or twice in this Colts game, but frankly, the offense was there to save them in that respect. But now that they're starting to face some real teams, I am a little bit concerned as far as how this defense can hold up come the postseason. And we now know that the Niners will be in the postseason because they clinched this week. I think this team, as far as like winning the Super Bowl goes, they need Fred Warner back. And I would honestly put that at like a 50-50 shot right now. He's the way that Warner's been rehabbing. He's been like sleeping in cryo chambers. The videos I've been seeing about Warner coming back are insane. And frankly, does not look like someone who is mailing it in for the year. So I think if we get past the divisional round, we're going to start to see Fred Warner. It'll be fun. Moving on to the Indy side, it's sad to see Indianapolis collapse the way they did. They started off 7-1. They looked really good. They weren't some fluky team. They had beaten good teams. They had in my opinion, the MVP of the league through the first half of the year in Jonathan Taylor. Daniel Jones was efficient. The defense was was good. And then not only that, they traded for Sauce Gardner. And at the end, now the Colts season is pretty much wrapped up. We will have only seen Sauce Gardner, Kenny Moore, and Charvarius Ward for 1 game. And that sucks. That really sucks. When they made the trade, it was like one of the first podcasts that actually got some traction on this channel because I was just talking about how excited I was to see Charvarius Ward, Sauce Gardner, and Kenny Moore all play together. And hey, Kenny Moore is still there. He's the second best slot corner in the league, the first. I don't know, wherever you want to put McMillan on the Broncos, wherever you want to put like Cooper Jean whenever he plays in the slot. I don't know. It's all kind of a toss-up, but he's like the best I think he's the best of them all, of all the true slot corners. He's been great still, but Charv has had all those concussion issues. I just hope he comes back at some point. It's scary to see a guy get 3 concussions in 1 year. Hopefully that he can recover from those. And Sauce with this calf thing. I'm hoping that we do get to see this next year, and we get to actually see what Lou Anarumo with the secondary looks like. And the same way I really want to see what Daniel Jones and this offense healthy again looks like. It just sucks. This is just a really, really sad situation for the Colts and a loss of what could have been a really, really fun year. Phillip Rivers, speaking of fun, you know what? At least we had this. Phillip Rivers, he was so awesome. I think the broadcast was having so much fun just paying to Rivers for like 15 minutes, which was pissing me off. But hey, it was such a cool story. And frankly, it's a cool story that I didn't know would come out this good as far as his actual play on the field. For a guy who literally cannot put any zip on the ball, like his balls are all floaters, they all seemingly going like 30 to 40 miles per hour. And he can't really step into throws either. If you look at the way he throws a deep ball, it's so weird. But my God, it's accurate. It's really, really accurate. And that has been super, super fun. Frankly, he throws the ball in a way that I don't think any defender has seen or gotten used to, because whenever someone throws that many, frankly, duck-looking throws, you don't expect them all to be drops in the bucket. So he only really had like one bad throw in the entire game, and that's when he got he got some interior rush in his face. I think that was credit to Keon White, I want to say. And he was looking for Tyler Warren on this corner route in the red zone, and it was open, and it would have gone in for 6, but he missed the throw. That was the only really like rough play from him. The interception and the pick 6. That was more of a great read by D Winters. Just knowing what happened before, understanding the check. If you don't know Phillip Rivers, I think they pointed us out on the broadcast, or Luke Kuechly called it, whatever. Rivers checked to a spacing concept earlier in the game, and it involved stretching out D Winters, where if D Winters ran to the flat to guard Jonathan Taylor, he was going to throw a short little pass to Tyler Warren, and it worked on him, right? Because it's just a very, very hard thing to guard. So he saw Phillip Rivers check to that again, had the exact same call. I can't remember the name. Excuse me for that. And then they run to the other side this time, and D Winters, what he does is he acts like he's going to go to Jonathan Taylor in the flat, like shifts his body to one side, and then takes one step, and then immediately darts back. Rivers just sees that first step and immediately goes to throw it to Warren, but D Winters was all over that. Perfectly baits Rivers. I don't even think you can call it a bad play by Rivers. I just think you call it an excellent play by Winters. So here's my hot take for Phillip Rivers. If Daniel Jones is ruled out for the first 6... Okay, first this assumes Daniel Jones comes back to the Colts. But assuming that Daniel Jones is ruled out for the first half of the year, right? Because I think that's right around where the recovery timeline would put him. I wouldn't hate Rivers back for the first few games in some capacity, even if that's as a backup to Anthony Richardson. I'd love it. I don't know if Rivers would love it. I don't know if 45-year-old Phillip Rivers would be like, yeah, I'll sign up for training camp and OTAs and all that. But, hey, beginning of September, they call him up, be like, hey, can you at least be our backup? Can you maybe start over Richardson? Sure. Why not? I think he's more than capable of it, frankly. He's not the worst quarterback in the league. I think there are a bunch of quarterbacks you can name right now who are worse than Phillip Rivers. Even though the Colts are probably dead, I really, really want to see him finish out the year. Talking about the rest of the team. The run game for the Colts has struggled the last few weeks. I think they talked about that on the broadcast. But this game in particular, my God, it got destroyed. Jonathan Taylor was only held to like 46 yards. You could tell that the Niners fully keyed in on that. They were not concerned about Phillip Rivers heading into the game. Now, did that prove to be kind of a mistake? Absolutely. But they made sure Jonathan Taylor didn't bust open the game. And credit to the Niners D-line for playing really well in run support. For Bethune, who I just shit on for his playing coverage, but hey, he can defend the run really well, and that's exactly what he did. And we also need to talk about the fact that the Colts offensive line was missing 3 of their 5 starters. Bernard Ryman, an excellent left tackle. Their center got injured in this game, and I think their right tackle was out as well. Rough injuries for Indy, and yeah, that run game never really had a shot. I really like Alec Pierce, by the way. He had like 70 catches, or not 70 catches. He had 70 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, and he's a free agent. I didn't realize that. He is going to get paid. If you look at the receiver market, it is one of the most overblown, overspent on things in frankly any sport. Like, I don't understand how teams pay their receivers so much money and still field competent rosters. The only reason is because everybody else does it. Like, I don't understand. Ever since Christian Kirk got his contract with the Jaguars, the receivers market has been destroyed to the point where I genuinely think Alec Pierce is going to get $20 million a year at the very least. And what I will say is that if any team gets him for less than that number, it's going to be a great contract. Alec Pierce is so much fun. I really want to see what he looks like in an expanded role, because it seems like every time he gets an opportunity with the Colts, he delivers every time. So if I were the Colts, try and re-sign that guy. But if they don't, I understand, because, again, receiver market is so dumb. Besides that, if we go to the Colts defense, rough game from them. I didn't know this heading into the game, or I didn't know this before like the last week, but the Colts linebackers in coverage are truly awful. Like, they're really, really bad. As I was like researching for the game, because I always like to, know a little bit more about your opponent before we watch the game. But yeah, the Colts linebackers are truly awful in coverage. I didn't know this. Like, if you look at their PFF grades, they're like 76 and 78 of 79 linebackers in terms of pure coverage, which alone is a death sentence against the Niners and Shanahan, and like Shanahan specifically. My God, there's a reason why they have won so many of the Niners-Rams matchups. It's just because the Rams refuse to spend on a linebacker, and it pays off every time. There is a reason why now the Rams extended Nate Landman. Like, my God, the amount of times the Niners just picked apart Rams linebackers. Anyways, but yeah, usually alone, that's a death sentence. And not only that, but you have to add on the fact that they had backup corners in this one outside of Kenny Moore. Yeah, that was always going to be a difficult thing to succeed in. Frankly, when it comes to Lou Anarumo, he's been getting some shit for this game, and Lou's defense this year has been like top 10 according to most metrics. I don't know how that affects it after this game. Probably they dropped a few ranks, but Lou Anarumo is like this amazing scheme, like genius. If you look at what he's done against the best quarterbacks in the league, like, if you wonder why the Bengals have had success in that 2-year run, more than frankly any other person in that building, the credit goes to Lou Anarumo. He found a way to stuff Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen multiple times over the course of those 2 seasons, and that led to a lot of their success. And that's because the way Lou calls defense is so unique. He calls most defense. Okay, this is going to be kind of nerdy, but most defenses have like a specialty, right? Or like a base coverage that they run a lot of. So for the Niners and Robert Saleh, it's cover 4, right? You have quarters. That's 4 deep guys. And that's more because that's our philosophy is bend, don't break. Yeah, we are going to give up 20 points. Yeah, we're going to give up like a lot of yards, but as long as you don't score 30 and still give our offense a chance, we'll be okay. Right? That's the example for the Niners. For the Colts, they don't have one specialty. They run every single coverage. They run cover 1, cover 2, cover 1 hole, cover 1 robber. By the way, I'm going to say some stuff here. If that's confusing, I can always like do a video explaining that stuff. But cover 1 hole is like man coverage, and then you have a guy guarding the middle, so like supporting the middle. Cover 1 robber is you have a safety guarding the middle, right? They have cover 2, cover 3. Every single coverage you can imagine, hell, cover 6. Everything that you can imagine, the Colts run. So it frankly makes it really hard for any of these quarterbacks to adjust. That's why if you see the Colts play, like if you see Lou Anarumo against a superstar quarterback, or like the conventional superstar quarterbacks, Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, etc., you often see them have some success, hold them to 20 points, hold them to some of the worst games of their career. That's because Lou's a wizard. But this game, it's twofold. He did not have the horses, frankly, because those coverages, those corners, and those linebackers were getting beat regardless of whatever the hell he called. He could call cover 1, he can call cover 2, he can call cover 3. Doesn't matter. They're all going to get torched. And Shanahan was ready for pretty much all of it. And at some point, like, that's kind of Brock's game. Brock's game is he's 6'1". And I think what a lot of people don't understand with the quarterback position is, you're playing behind a line, which no shit. But if you're not tall enough, you kind of can't see where these guys are. It's pretty much all in your mind. You got to read it out. You got to know what coverage and then throw it to an open spot. And that's what Purdy does. I think Purdy probably can't see the receiver like 50% of the time. And I know that's going to freak people out. But Brian Baldinger, one of my favorite analysts, he did like a breakdown of it. Like he just throws it in the right spot because he knows where the open spot in the defense is going to be. He knows where his guy is going to be. So when you're playing against a guy like that, where your goal is going to be like, okay, we don't have the horses necessarily to compete, so we're going to have to pull out some bullshit. We're going to have to try and trick him. This is not the right unit to try that against. It was not going to work against Purdy and Shanahan. That is just a duo that is like a 10 out of 10, A plus in terms of winning when it comes to scheme. So overall, I want to see Indy run this back next year. I know they're getting a lot of shit. A lot of people are like, well, you traded your 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Look how that went out. All your schedule. But when I watched this team, that is not the impression I got. They were there. They did have a very, very good shot at this, especially when the NFL was wide open this year. They were running one of the most efficient offenses we had ever seen. They were insane in important times. They were one of the best red zone teams we've ever seen. They were amazing on third down. Their defense was led by, frankly, a genius in Lou Anarumo. But at some point, it just sucks because it's just sometimes not your year. At some point, sometimes the gods are just against you. And you know what? That happened for the Colts. And that sucks. So I really hope that this doesn't dissuade them, that they don't blow up the roster. I want to see them run this back. And I want to see them run this with Sauce Gardner, Kenny Moore, Charvarius Ward. Run it back with hopefully a healthy Daniel Jones at some point. And just, I want to see what this looks like again. So, moving on. Speaking of collapses, my God, do we have a good one to get to. We were talking about that game for half an hour. That is crazy. Ravens and the Patriots. The Patriots' points were basically the same as last week, so I'm going to just briefly touch on them. This is a young team with a lot of ebbs and flows. But at the end of the day, even though, yes, you're sometimes going to blow a 21-point lead to the Buffalo Bills, they're a young team. You're going to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, you have an amazing coach and an amazing quarterback. And sometimes it's just that simple. Drake Maye led an amazing comeback in this game. He was so much fun to watch. He got killed on every single throw. The Ravens pass rush, give him credit, they showed up. Draymond Jones showed up. Oh my God. Every time they found a way to whack at Drake Maye. And every throw was still perfect in that fourth quarter. It was awesome. He drove his team down for multiple touchdowns, in huge spots. He was great. I've said it 100 times on this podcast. Every time we talk about the Patriots, it's just, man, Drake Maye is so awesome. I love watching this dude. If Matthew Stafford didn't have just such an absurd season statistically, I would give Drake Maye the MVP, but I understand at some point, if you look at Stafford's stats, they're just insane. So the Pats, though, I think my main takeaway for them is just that they need to get healthy really bad. That offensive line, it's not going to, the Ravens pass rush was already not great, and they made them look dominant. They need to get their line back. The good news is that Will Campbell will be back for the postseason. That was the biggest piece. I know they had Morgan Moses go down at times. They had their third string right tackle go down at times. So they really, really need to get healthy. And hopefully they do, because then I think we're going to start to see the team that we saw a few weeks ago. Oh, another big one that I forgot, Milton Williams, who I think got injured on Thursday night a few weeks ago, but they just opened up his practice window that got announced a few hours ago. So that'll be big for them. I'm very excited to see this full Patriots team in full force again, because the unit that we saw at the beginning of the year is awesome. So hopefully we can get back to that. But overall, as far as their playoff outlook goes, still the same takeaway as last week. I love the story. I love the quarterback. I love the coach. I think that they have a foundation for what could be another dynasty run if they play their cards right. But just for this year, I still think this team is a bit too young and a bit too raw to say that they're going to go into, even if they're at home, I still just have a hard time seeing them winning 4 postseason games. It'll be a rough road for them. So we'll see. I need to see that to believe it still. I need to see it in the postseason. But as far as just the roster, frankly, give so much credit to this team, because on paper, this roster has a lot of holes. They're still extremely young. This was not the year that everyone expected them to be this good. I think people thought it was going to be at least me personally, I thought it would be next year. But hey, they're still going to have a ton of cap and free agency and stuff, so I'm really excited to see what they do in the offseason. But moving on to a team that has bothered me like no other, and probably the worst takes I've had in the last few years has been just me talking about the Ravens, because every year I'm like, man, I think this team should win the Super Bowl. Man, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. And my God, the Ravens, in the biggest game of the season, following the Steelers game, they know what they had to do. They knew they had to win this game. There was no exceptions, because now with this loss, the Steelers can knock them out next week without even having to play them. They just have to beat the Browns. But in this spot, with your season on the line, they put on an absolute disaster class in what I call coaching and logic. Sometimes simple logic. Derrick Henry fumbles in this game early, which, hey, that sucks. I don't know, that's happened a lot this year. That is not something I usually think of when you think of Derrick Henry. But he fumbled at the beginning of the game. That sucks. And you could tell he was beating himself up about it. But you know what? He came out and he was dominant since the fumble. He had 7 yards per carry in that game. The second half, the Patriots just could not stop him at all. And he doesn't touch the ball in the last 2 drives because, according to Harbaugh, it wasn't his turn in the running back rotation. It was the Keen Mitchell drives. Are you kidding me? With your season on the line, you don't go to the best running back of our generation. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. In a game where all the Ravens had to do was just play keep away. That's all they had to do. Don't let the Patriots get the ball back quickly. You have to kill some clock. The game was theirs. They had it. They earned it. The way that defensive line was playing, they earned it. The way that Tyler Huntley came in and played after Lamar Jackson got injured, they earned it. And they threw it away. Their entire season. They don't give the ball to Derrick Henry in the last 2 drives. Could you imagine if the Niners did not give the ball to Christian McCaffrey for 2 drives in a row with their season on the line? Could you imagine if the Eagles last year did not give the ball to Saquon? I don't get it. I really don't. How is this a problem for the Ravens every year? We came away from the Bills game saying, man, if they just gave the ball to Derrick Henry. Came away from the Chiefs game 2 years ago saying, man, if they just gave the ball to Derrick Henry. Came away 5 years ago against the Titans saying, man, if they just gave the ball to J.K. Dobbins. I don't get it. I really don't get it. How this keeps happening. I'm not even sure if it was J.K. Dobbins or Gus the Bus. Whatever. It just keeps happening. I don't get it. As far as Lamar goes, Lamar has not been healthy for a long time. And like a month ago, I said that I thought that Lamar is clearly injured. He was not playing at his best. And that I thought that they should give him a week off. They should give him a week or 2 and let Snoop take it. Let Lamar fully recover. Like from the time I posted that, he had a game against the Bengals where he looked pretty good. Frankly, he threw the ball 12 times. He didn't have to try. Other than that, he has not been himself. Again, he can't run the ball very well. He's not very effective. And yet, the first time he tries to run in this game, he gets injured. This was predictable. This was so predictable. Instead of giving him time to rest from the 9,000 injuries he has, you just keep checking him out there. The Ravens, man. How many times has Zay Flowers cost his team by doing some stupid bullshit for no reason? Like in this game, my God, all he has to do is just not fumble in that spot. I understand he's trying to make a play, get around some guys, but just go down. There's nothing there. And instead he fumbles again in the most classic Zay Flowers way ever. Unnecessary killers over and over and over again. With Zay Flowers, you still think about that moment in 2023 when he taunts and then fumbles the ball at the 1 yard line. And that ends up winning the Chiefs the game and goes on to be the thing that wins the Chiefs the Super Bowl. It's baffling. It is baffling how it seems like the same mistakes the Ravens make every single year and they never learn from them. Why the hell did Mark Andrews get a contract for 3 years and $32 million to do nothing? Literally nothing. The most eventful play Mark Andrews had in this game was a lateral that was forwards, mind you, and he was trying to lateral it to Zay Flowers over a defender's head, except he misses by a good 20 feet, and it turns into the easiest scoop up ever, and it would have been the Patriots' ball had it not been for a roughing the passer call, which, by the way, if Mark Andrews just doesn't forward lateral it there, that roughing the passer could have been another 15 yards and given the Ravens an extra 3 points. So he threw away 3 points. Could have lost them 3 points too. It's baffling. Me watching this Ravens team is just insane. Why the hell is Tyler Linderbaum going to be... I just have so many things that randomly pop up. Why is Tyler Linderbaum going to be a free agent? They have shown no desire to extend him. He is the second best center in the league. Only Creed Humphrey in Kansas City is better. He's going to walk because he's going to get $20 million a year, rightfully so, by some team that actually values the interior offensive line. Daniel Falele is still out there getting snaps. It is so many mistakes over and over and over again with this team. And at some point, I'm tired of it. Fire John Harbaugh. At some point, what's the reason to keep him around? What, you won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco in 2012? That's the reason? That's the reason you should stick around? This team is the most disappointing team of the last 7 years. It is not close. I'm not sure if there's a team in other sports that rivals it. I'm really giving it some thought. It sucks that the way the Heat have gone out and the Bucks, other than winning in 2021, in the NBA, I don't watch much baseball. I think someone could probably point to a baseball thing and they would probably be right, but I don't know. But certainly the Ravens are one of the most disappointing teams in all of sports in the last 7 years. It is so sad This Ravens team, the last, frankly, like 5 seasons, has been one of the best rosters on paper. You have all pros everywhere. It sucks that Madubuike went down this year and Roquan Smith has taken a step back. But you still have Kyle Hamilton. You still have Marlon Humphrey. You still have Derrick Henry. You still have Lamar Jackson. You still have so many guys. I can just keep going down the list. Especially if you want to go back a year or two, you had Justin Madubuike. Like, it is not only that. The last 2 years of those 7 have featured some of the greatest quarterback play I have ever seen. And those 2 years led to 1 playoff win. And if you don't know what I'm referencing 2019 when Lamar was the unanimous MVP and was absurdly good. They ended up losing the Titans in the second round off of a first round bye. And then last year, Lamar Jackson, who in my opinion should have been the MVP last year, but they gave it to Josh Allen just because of voter fatigue. Lamar Jackson was one of the best quarterbacks I'd ever watched last year. He was amazing. And what do? They get 1 playoff win for it over the Steelers. That's it. Because Mark Andrews drops the ball on the 2-point conversion. It is so frustrating. And this year, they're going to be out of the playoffs. Why? Because they couldn't beat a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, nor could they beat an incredibly young, injured Patriots team. Those will be the 2 games that end up costing them the postseason. And yeah, if you want to point to some games earlier in the season, that's fair. But I just mean, as for right now, the 2 most immediate obvious games. I don't get it. The only positives I wrote, I like Snoop Huntley. I still think Snoop Huntley should be the Ravens backup forever. I think what he does in the Ravens system whenever Lamar goes down is actually pretty good. I like Keaton Mitchell, even though him being in the game the last 2 drives pissed the hell out of me. It bothered me, but I still think he's a great player. And I want to see what he looks like with more and more reps and coming off the ACL. Outside of that, there's not much to say that's positive here. This is just sad. It is really, really sad to see what the Ravens have come to. And at some point, they need to make a change. So, yeah, I would say fire John Harbaugh right away. I don't think it should have been questioned. Hindsight, of course, again, hindsight's 2020. But 2 years ago, you fire John Harbaugh after the disappointment against the Chiefs, and you hire Mike McDonald as your head coach. That in the best case scenario. Honestly, I think the Ravens would be Super Bowl champions if they did that last year. I think that they're the only team that had the horses to keep up with Philadelphia. We'll see. Moving on. I'm sorry. I don't know why it seems like we talk about one depressing thing on this podcast every time. But we just had to talk about the Ravens collapse there. All right, moving on. We have the Bears and the Packers. This was such a fun game to watch. What a game. What a freaking game. To see the Bears come back like that in the fourth quarter and overtime, the miracle onside kick. It was a real treat, especially on a Saturday, which was great. Usually I'm never used to having to watching games on a Saturday because I felt like, I can watch that. And then guess what? You got to wake up to football the next day. Beautiful, beautiful thing to see. But it's weird. When you have a team collapse like the way the Packers did, you usually have 100 complaints, right? It's like you could point to 10 players and be like, oh, this guy failed this spot, this guy failed, this coach failed, yada, yada, yada. But what's weird is that when I watched this game, it felt like I had 100 compliments for the Packers, which is weird to say in a loss just because of how much they exceeded my expectations for this game. Because, my God, Malik Willis coming in for Jordan Love, who'd struggled in this one. Jordan Love goes out with concussion and a really, really, frankly, nasty injury. Shit, you don't like to see it at all. But Malik Willis comes in and guess what? He provides a spark to the offense. His running ability is really huge. And it starts opening up run lanes all across the field. Even Malik Willis gets in on the action, gets 40 rushing yards. And he was awesome. I think he's going to get a contract somewhere else next year. He'll be a stopgap starter for somebody. I really want to see what that looks like. Emmanuel Wilson, the Packers backup running back, who comes in for Josh Jacobs after he had this really, really big fumble near the Bears goal line. And he was great. He had 6 yards of carry. He had his way with the Bears. He was doing whatever he wanted. I really like Emmanuel Wilson. And I think that the Packers are going to start shifting more and more to him because of Josh Jacobs' fumbling stuff. I really like Emmanuel Wilson. And as far as their defense goes, through the first 3.5 quarters, I was ready to sing the praises of Jeff Hadley. I thought that was Jeff Hadley's I thought it was going to be his magnum opus. It was going to be the game that you point to and be like, that's the game that got him a head coaching job. Because they stuffed the Bears completely. Again, biggest game of the season. Micah Parsons goes down with an ACL tear last game, and the defense looks lost. And what does Jeff Hadley do but lead his guys out there and hold the Bears to just 9 points through 3.5 quarters? It was so impressive. They got Rashawn Gary looking like it was like 2023 again, and everything looked so good. And then the special teams for the Packers, the two most evil words in Green Bay, Wisconsin, special teams, strikes again. Only a team that has the Pope and has a game right before, a few days before Christmas, gets what the Bears got in that situation. They get an onside kick, and it was a really, really bad play by Romeo Doubs, who just lets the ball bounce right through his hands. And for a team that employs the highest paid special teams coordinator in the league for the last few years in Rich Bisaccia, yikes, not great. Clearly, they did not ever expect a team to try an onside kick and for it to actually kind of work. But then the onside kick happens, and Caleb Williams comes to life. He had two of the best throws of the season. And you know what? I was watching it. I was fortunate enough to actually go to a USC game when Caleb Williams was the quarterback. And it's like, man, it looks like USC again. That fourth throw he had was one of the most absurd throws I have seen all year. He's like drifting to his right, pressure's in his face. He's got to not only predict where the ball is going, predict that guy breaking his coverage, but put it in the back corner of the end zone. He can't throw it out. And if he throws it under, who knows? Maybe the Packers guy runs up and gets a pick. But drops it right perfectly to his rookie receiver, who he had probably taken, I don't even know how many snaps on the first team offense. Maybe practiced him the last 2 weeks. That's about it. Because all of the Bears receivers are injured. And throws just a beauty. That was amazing to watch. And then not only that, you get the kill shot too. The Packers fumble on overtime, and then Caleb Williams, play action, drop back. My God. Drops it right in the bucket. DJ Moore. It was when he is on, man, there's nobody like Caleb. It's so much fun. And overall, I don't know, there's not much for me to break down in terms of the game goes. At some point, you know what? Things just start breaking your way. And so much credit to the Bears for taking advantage of that. They get that onside kick, and then from there, they never let go of control. It was awesome to watch. Big things for Green Bay is that with this loss, they're probably not going to win the division, which sucks for them because they're definitely in a spot where they could fully control their destiny had they just handled business against Chicago. The scenario is that they need to win out, and then they need the Bears to lose to the Niners and to lose to the Lions. So they need the Bears to lose out. The only reason I specifically split that out is because by this point, Detroit will likely be eliminated. So that means they're going to need Detroit to actually go for the win and try and play spoiler, which with Dan Campbell, they're 100% going to do, regardless of the scenario. So that's why I have play spoiler written in there. And in that scenario, they would likely end up as the 2 seed. We need to keep an eye on Jordan Love, but with his concussion. But I think Malik Willis is more than capable enough to lead this team to a win against the Ravens. I think this loss at the time was a lot more of a gut punch than it is now. And that's twofold. One, because we can go back in hindsight and say, look, it's impressive to see how this team stepped up with Micah being injured, with Jordan Love being injured. You could argue the 3 best or most important players on the Packers team were injured in this game. Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft. Those are the 3 best. Those are the 3 impact players on this team. The insane stars for a Packers team that really doesn't have that many stars, just a lot of good players. But to see them rebound off that, and even with Malik Willis in, like I said, Rashawn Gary stepped up, and it was impressive to see how this team looked against a very good Chicago team and how they effectively controlled the game and should have won the game without the main, frankly, blue chip players of this team. So it sucks in that respect that they lost, of course, to your biggest rival. But not only do you have that, but the Lions and the Steelers did you a favor. I was talking about how post-game, I did a little short on the YouTube. Check it out if you haven't seen it. But I was talking about how this loss could potentially keep the Packers out of the playoffs. If the Lions had beaten the Steelers, all they needed to do was have the Packers lose one more game and they would control their own destiny. And remember, Green Bay still has to go play Baltimore, which at the time, again, looked much more scary than it actually was, and then go play the Vikings, which, again, we didn't know J.J. McCarthy had a fracture. So we'll see if J.J. plays. I think that could then be more of a game, but if not, I think the Packers are probably going to coast through those 2. So, yeah, at the time, this looked way shittier. At the time, this sucked way more. But I think now with the benefit of time, we can be like, okay, it's really impressive to see what this coaching staff did outside of Rich Bisaccia on the special teams. But outside of them, a lot of credit goes to LaFleur for keeping this offense working with Willis in. And frankly, a lot of credit should go to Hadley because even though, yes, it sucks that the defense gave up at the end and fell apart. I don't know how much of it to blame on him. I think that's just amazing plays by Caleb Williams and the Bears offense. Moving on to the Bears side of things, Shay, what more is there to say? Biggest win for them of I want to say the biggest regular season win of all time. I don't know, maybe a Bears super fan can correct me in the comments. I'm not sure. I can 100% be wrong here. But now the Bears are in a spot where all they have to do is win one of two games to lock up the 2 seed because they have the tiebreaker over Philly. And this is a huge test for them. And seeing them rally and fight back against their biggest rival, again, despite the injuries, rally against their biggest rival was impressive, despite the win itself being kind of fluky because of the onside kick. So a ton of credit to the Bears. And again, after watching the game, I did not think I'd come away saying give some credit to the Packers. But hey, the Packers really did rally in this one. So for Chicago, I kind of see them in that New England boat where they're a young team. I think they're a year ahead of schedule because while I do like some of their offensive talent, their defense has played a lot better than I actually thought it would be. So again, huge props, huge credit to Dennis Allen, their DC, who, by the way, there's like some coordinators who get hired who like you immediately know are just going to be smash hits. That was one of them. Dennis Allen to the Bears. Great move. Everyone knew it was a great move. And guess what? It was a great move. So they have a huge game coming up. The reason why I'm holding back some of my Bears thoughts is because they're going to be the A block next week, barring some craziness happening in week 17. Because I will be at the Niners-Bears game on Sunday night. It's going to be so much fun. Very much looking forward to that. And it's going to be a huge test for them. And I don't want to say too many things about the Bears before watching that game because I want to see what this Bears team looks like with my own eyes. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing that on Sunday. The Niners' control of the 1 seed lies in the balance of that game. And for the Bears, if they win that game, they actually could find their way into that 1 seed as well. Huge game. I'm looking forward to that. I think the whole football world is. So it's going to be a ton of fun on Sunday night. Moving on. We got the last game here. Rams and Seahawks. This was the Thursday night game. Had this game been on Sunday, yes, this would have been the A block 100%. But it's been right around a week. So I'm going to keep it brief because, this happened a week ago. I think people have their thoughts on it. But what a game. We have to talk about the game of the year. It has been a long time, yes, but I think now that we've started to see some of the reaction to it, or not some, we saw the reaction to it, I don't think the Rams offense got enough blame for this loss. A lot of people are like quick to just be like, oh, the defense fell apart at the end, which yes, they did. And yes, the Rams offense for the first 3 quarters and overtime were great, and they put up 30 points because they got basically 7 on the pick 6 from Darnold. Or not pick 6, but they got to the 1 yard line, so I'm just calling it a pick 6. But there was a stretch here from near the start of the fourth quarter, not the start, but like right around the start to overtime, where they had 6 straight drives and not once did they put up points. The most they got was a field goal attempt, which was a long kick, and their kicker shanked it. That was it. And for an offense that hosts what could be, or what probably will be, the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year, I would like to see you put up at least 3 points to go win the most important game of your season. Just a shout. Just an idea. The game was right there for them. All they had to do was just go get it. And they didn't. So I think that we are not giving nearly enough blame to this Rams offense because I think it got masked by that drive in OT, which also was dead in the water. The Seahawks picked off the ball, but the ball hit the ground, yada, yada, and then Puka Nacua just made an insane play. So they really do need a lot more blame for how this game went down. And for the Rams defense, it is nothing that I haven't talked about before. It is the same problem the Rams have had since their Super Bowl run in that their front 4 is amazing. Jared Verse is great. Braden Fisk is great. Byron Young is amazing. He just made the Pro Bowl. But once you get past the front 4, if you can hold off that pass rush for just a sec, you are now dealing with some Swiss cheese back there. Because Nate Landman has been good for them. He's made some good tackles. But I wouldn't call him the greatest coverage linebacker. And, of course, the guy next to him isn't particularly great either. And then their corners are awful. They always have been. The Rams do not invest in corners post Jalen Ramsey, nor do they invest in linebackers. Like, Emmanuel Forbes is their number 1 corner. And I'm sorry. I don't care if Emmanuel Forbes has 10 amazing straight games in a row. I'm never going to trust Emmanuel Forbes because I watched him in Washington, and it was bad. He was one of the worst corners in the league in Washington. And frankly, in this game, he got cooked quite a bit. This will be, when it comes to the Rams, like, I've struggled to come up with like a new takeaway for them. It's the same stuff. And I think we got it. The Rams' path now to the Super Bowl just got a lot harder. This could be that game could be the thing that cost them the season. Because now they're likely to play a game without Devontae Adams. He had a really, really nasty re-injury of that hamstring, and I didn't see a path to him coming back for the wild card. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does. Who knows? But not only that, they're going to now have to go on the road, which, while SoFi isn't much of a home field advantage, unless they're pumping in a ton of crowd noise, it's better. It's indoors. It really lets the offense and Matthew Stafford shine, which is the strength of the Rams. So now they're potentially having to go to go to Carolina, go to Tampa in some muggy weather, which, yeah, they're probably fine in those scenarios. But hell, if things hold, like right now, they're the 6th seed, which means they go to Philadelphia. We saw how that played out last year. This is a team that had everything in front of them. All they had to do was just take it on one of those 6 drives, and they couldn't. Or hell, get one defensive stop in overtime. Couldn't do it. An absolutely brutal result here for the Rams. Moving on, we got the Seahawks. And for them, I'd just say, good for Sam Darnold. He dispelled his biggest narrative heading into the game. There was a lot of talk about, can Sam Darnold win a big game? And through the first 3 quarters, my God, did it look like the answer was no. But he stepped up. The defense, or his special teams, gave him an opportunity to come back post Rashid Shaheed punt return, and he answered the call, much like the Bears game a few days later. Something out of his control went his way, and there was an opportunity that was created, and he absolutely took it, which I love to see. Kenneth Walker, by the way, awesome in this game. I have on here, Kenneth Walker is either so mid or he's the greatest player I've ever seen. And we got the second one here. He had 2 huge plays. One of them was a touchdown. One of them led to a touchdown. He was awesome for them. And frankly, he was the only thing that gave their offense life through the first 3 quarters. And speaking of Rashid Shaheed, he gives such a spark to this offense and special teams that I think we're going to see more and more of as the season wraps up. Heading a few weeks ago, we were like, where the hell is Rashid Shaheed? But then he had a really nice game against the Falcons, and now he follows it up with this game where he had 2 really, really big splash plays. Love to see Shaheed popping off here. And for Seattle, man, I'm selfish. I'm biased. All I want to see is Niners Seahawks for the division. Now, that might tick off some Bears fans because we play them. For the Seahawks, that might tick off some Panthers fans. But hey, that's all I want to see. It is going to be so much fun if we get that. That is going to be amped. And I think every Niners fan and Seahawks fan would be so amped to see that game play out for the 1 seed. Oh my God, it'd be amazing. I'm smiling ear to ear. I can't get over that. That'll be so much fun. As for their defense, I mean, they struggle in this one, but hey, the way Matthew Stafford's been playing this year, the way the Rams offense is moving, it's not a rare thing to struggle against the Rams offense. Their interior defensive line started to get some pressure in that second half, and especially in that 4th quarter. Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence is genuinely one of the most stupid trios I've ever heard for interior pass rushers. That is a unit straight from the 90s. That is not a modern NFL pass rush, and you can tell because no team can really guard it all that well because no team has the interior offensive line to guard that outside of Philly last year. So they're going to be dominant in the postseason as well. And it's one of those things where teams are just going to have to adapt to it because those guys are going to get home at some point. They are so good. And it's frankly been I want to say if there's one big reason for the Seahawks' success, I would give it to that over anything. Just building up that interior deep pass rush. Oh my God. Love that. Love that so much. When it comes to just being a football nerd, what the Seahawks are doing on defense is amazing. And you know what? Led to 6 straight stops for them and gave their offense a chance to go win the game, and they absolutely did. Last thing, before I close the show, I want to talk about the Raiders, which you might be thinking about, why the hell are you talking about the Raiders? The most I've talked about the Raiders since week 6 or week 7 has been, man, the Raiders really suck. That is the one line I said. I said the Raiders are the worst team in football. That's it. That's all I've said about the Raiders for the last 3 months because, frankly, they have not given me a reason to. But they have been the worst team in football. The best performance they've had in the last few months has been barely losing to the Texans. And by barely, I mean that they lost by full possession and the other team had the ball to end it. So, not really barely. I'm emphasizing the T's here. The Raiders have a clear path to the number 1 pick. The Athletic, playoff predictor, whatever. They also have one for the draft and the number 1 pick. They have them as the highest chance to get the number 1 pick. But let me tell you, there is going to be a race for the number 1 pick. It's going to be a gauntlet. You're going to have to earn that number 1 pick this year. Because the Raiders finished the year. On Sunday, they play the Giants, who are 2-13 as well. And if they lose that game, they cannot get the number 1 pick. The Giants will own head-to-head tiebreaker if they lose that game. So there's going to be a real competition on Sunday on who can be the most sucky team. Which team can throw the most interceptions, fumble the most. And the Raiders, And for how as bad as a team that they are, they're going to need Geno to be prime Geno Smith in terms of throwing some beautiful interceptions, missing some wide open receivers. Like if I were the Raiders, you make up some excuse and you play your quarterback 3. And the Giants, ever since that last week, they tried the let's not have Jackson Dart run experiment, which led to 0.2 fantasy points and 35 passing yards, and a scenario in which the Vikings were playing Max Brosmer for real NFL time and lost. So that's going to be a struggle. That's going to be a very hard game to lose. But you know what? I believe in the Raiders. What do they have after that? Week 18, Kansas City. Which, any years past, that'd be a hallelujah. We're playing the Chiefs. All we got to do is lose the game. We got that. We have that in our bag to lose that game. But the Chiefs might be tanking harder than the Giants. The Chiefs already put on IR Trent McDuffie, Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes, of course, Gardner Minshew, he's done for the year. They're going to be trotting out Chris Aludican as their QB1 for the next 2 weeks. They already ruled out other guys. It's just like the names are just slipping off my tongue. I can't remember. But basically, half the team for the Chiefs is gone. Those are just the big guys I named. So not only are you going to have to deal with that, you're going to have to try and lose that game against a quarterback who had 20 pass attempts. It's going to be a struggle of a loss. But I believe in the Raiders. The Raiders have already countered. They ruled out Brock Bowers for the last 2 games. Give them credit. They were quick. They were decisive. They made a huge move to counteract. Take out our best player from the equation. You need to make up some excuse for Ashton Genty, because after last game, he can win you a game. God forbid. Do not let Ashton Genty win you the game. You need to find a way to lose those games. Fernando Mendoza's right there. He's waiting for you. And you know what? That's still not the greatest quarterback, whatever, in terms of the NFL draft. But hey, it's better than Geno. It's better than Kenny Pickett. Just hang on. Hang on for dear life. Do not let the Giants get it. If the Giants get it, they're going to trade that pick to a team that needs a quarterback, and you're boned. Let's say they lose to the Patriots, and the team like the Titans get it, again, they're going to trade the pick to a QB needy team. You are boned again. So, Raiders, I believe in you. Find a way to lose these last 2 games. Finish out the season strong at 2-15, and get that number 1 pick, baby. Mendoza's right there. He's right there. Or Dante Moore, whoever you want. But that's on that very stupid note. I want to thank you all for listening to me. It was 12 pages of notes, which is a new record for me. But it has been a phenomenal, phenomenal time being with you all. This NFL season, man, I am genuinely so grateful. This has been such an amazing time to watch, talk about, keep up with the entire NFL landscape. It's all so interesting. There's even more I want to talk about here. I just couldn't get to. The Jaguars and the Broncos were amazing. But I think that I'm going to talk about those teams more again pretty soon. So if you're a fan of those teams and you're just where's our game? Don't worry. I'll get to your team soon. There's a lot I have to say about the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who's having an amazing year. But anyways, I got another side tangent. Or not amazing year, amazing half of the year. But that's all. Thank you all so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. And let's have another beautiful NFL slate ahead of us.